What's going on, guys? Trag'oul here. Today we're going to be going over our day 1 T13's guide for the Necromancer. Now, as I get started, I want to do a big shout out to everybody that watched the day 1 T13's guide for the Barbarian. It's been very well received, and going forward I'm going to be doing more and more of these guides. I was trying to wait until the PTR was in a stable state so that we could give you stuff that isn't going to be dated or no longer work. So now that I feel we're in that place, I'm going to be putting more of these guides out as we go. So we are doing the Necromancer today, and let's jump right into the gear and what we get for the seasonal journey for season 12. We will be getting the Trag'oul's 6-piece set for free. Now, this set is very, very strong as a starter set for the Necromancer. As you can see on the 6-piece here, your life spending abilities deal 3,300% increased damage, and your healing from skills is increased by 100%. Now this, coupled with the Jez's set, makes for a very strong mage build. Now there are a lot of these blood mage builds out there, and this is my spin on it for the beginning of the season, because what I like to put a prioritization on when I'm making these guides is two things. Well, three things really. Damage, survivability. Survivability is really big because nobody likes being dead. So damage, survivability, and speed. You want to move as fast as possible, right? That's the whole idea of a speed farm setup. So I've geared around that and optimized this so that it's easy to gear, it moves quick, and it doesn't die. So once we get our 6-piece set, the Trag'oul's 6-piece set, the immediate thing that we're going to roll are scythes. Now, when I say roll, we're talking about the Hope of Cain, the upgrade, the rare item. You're going to be upgrading yellow scythes. You'll either see yellow scythes in your bag and save them, put them in your bank, or you'll make them at the blacksmith. But you're going to want to upgrade these things as you have the materials so that you can get your Jezeth scythe, skull scythe, and your scythe of cycle. Now these two things, so this set and this here, coupled with the Trag'oul's bonus, is mega damage. So what I want to put an emphasis on is you're working towards T13 on the first day. So say for instance, you roll your scythes, you get the 2 scythes, and you get your bone shield. And all you have is your 6-piece and those 3 things. Yellow items everywhere else. You can go do T10 immediately. Easy peasy, no problem. The damage buffs that you get from the set and the scythe set and the scythe in the cube is enough to do T10, no problem. So that's why I say to start with scythes and shield first and then move on into rings. Now the second thing is rings. That is because there's 3 rings you utilize in this set that make it so strong. T13 is a joke, right? So Crispin's Sentence is standard for almost all Necromancer builds. You deal up to 100% increased damage against slowed enemies, or triple this bonus against enemies afflicted by any other type of control impairing effect. This is very, very strong. You're going to want something with a high passive, as this rolls between 75 and 100, but early on you're going to take whatever you can get. So you're going for Crispin's, you're going for Circle of Trag'oul's Evolve, or Julian's Love backwards. This now raises an additional Skeletal Mage, and they can last from 2 to 4 seconds. Of course you want a high-end 4-second roll, but take whatever you can get in the beginning. So just with those 2 rings, let's stop there for a moment and talk about it. So just with these 2 rings, say you have nothing in the cube here, can easily do T11, T12 and run through with ease, right? That's just the damage multiplier from the items that you have thus far. You could continue forward and get yourself a Convention of the Elements, put that in the cube here. That's going to increase the damage even more. And at this point, all you've rolled is rings, scythes, and a shield. And now I want to say quickly that with the shield, I put 4 yellow shields in here earlier. I upgraded 4 shields. On my second one I got a Jezeth. It's very easy to get. Same with the scythe and this scythe as well. You get them all the time, so this is not something that you're going to have to grind for heavily in order to get these items. At least from my experience from the past season, I did main Necromancer last season, and I was getting these things all of the time. So we've got our rings covered. The next thing that I think you should go for is the gold wrap. Now, my build, in comparison to other mage builds out there, is that I use Boon of the Hoarder and Gold Wrap. Now, there are other ways to make this do way more damage, but I think that they're in the Diablo build community right now. There's always this high emphasis on how much damage can it do. Let's crank out as much damage as possible when you're doing so and running around and dying. And nobody likes to be dead all of the time. Now, I like to use Boon of the Hoarder and Gold Wrap because once you start killing things and getting the bonus from Gold Wrap, you're unkillable. You can stand in explosions, you can stand in lasers, you can stand in poison, you can stand in all three of those at once and not die. So if you're playing hardcore, it's a very, very good option for farming your stones. If you're not playing hardcore, it's a very, very good option for survivability, and utilizing the Boon of the Hoarder gives you gold. Now, D3 in the beginning of the season and all throughout the season is about efficiency. So when you can wear an item that gives you gold for free, it prevents you from having to do puzzle rings in order to get gold for empowering greater rifts. So in a speed meta, which is what we're in a speed meta for the Rothma Speeds setup, and that has not gone anywhere. You guys, I will be putting out a guide about that soon for Season 12. Boon of the Hoarder gives you the ability to get gold while you're farming hundreds of stones, because you go through hundreds of stones in the speed meta gaining paragons. So it's very, very good. The other thing to point out about Boon of the Hoarder is you don't have to fish for it. As you're upgrading rings, trying to get your Julian's Love and your Christmas and your conventions, you're undoubtedly going to get a puzzle ring. Put one puzzle ring in the cube, transmute it, kill greed, you get this gem automatically. So you don't have to fish greater rifts in order to hope that did I get my third gem that I need for this build? No, I already have one that I'm leveling while I'm fishing for the other two. So by the time you get trapped and Enforcer, you should already have a level 25 Boon of the Hoarder, unless you get insanely lucky and they're the, first and second gem that drop, but I don't think that the likelihood of that is very high. So it's very good to use Boon of the Hoarder, as it eliminates the RNG requirement for a third gem that you can't start leveling until you get. So I like to use this for the survivability and the movement speed. You get a boost of movement speed when you pick up gold, and this thing is all about moving and killing. So once you have your belt, your Gold Wrap, which, even though Gold Wrap doesn't seem like it's that, well, I don't want to fish belts. You got to fish belts anyways. If you run Rothma Speeds, you need a Witching Hour. If you run Necromancer Rift Guardian Killer, you need a Dainties. You're going to be rolling belts anyways for Necromancer. Start with belt after you get your Scythe and shields and rings. Once you have this gold wrap, I would move over to Nemesis Bracers, as the damage reduction you get from gold wrap kind of prevents you from needing a Wisdom Kalan and the extra 5 bone armor stacks in order to survive. So the last thing I would go for is this Wisdom of Kalan. I would get my Nemesis Bracer so I get extra death breath from the elites that spawn from pylons, which enables me to upgrade more gear as I'm looking for the next set that I'm going for. And then the last piece I would be going for is Wisdom of Kalan, as of these things. Now here's your flex spot. You can take Tasker and Theos in the cube, and your mages attack faster, and then, does a little more damage. I like to take Stewart's Greaves. Now, the reason I take Stewart's Greaves is because the movement speed buff that we're getting from this in Season 12 is insane, right? In the past, it only lasts for 3 seconds, so when you dash, you'd move for 3 seconds really fast, and then it was gone. Now, you go 10 seconds, so I'm going to demonstrate this for you real quick. You see my normal movement speed? I do 1 Blood Rush, and it looks like, I'm running a marathon, right? Super, super fast. And this lasts 10 seconds. So you move 10 seconds, you're cruising, right? I don't have to hit that thing again, and I've got this movement speed buff. So it's very, very useful when trying to fly through a rift quickly. So you can take either Stewart's Greaves here or Tasker and Theos. The reason I didn't opt for Tasker and Theos is because this setup does so much damage anyways. You don't necessarily need your mages to move quick or to attack more fast. You will need Taskers for the Rothma Speed setup, so it's going to be something you fish for later. So you can opt to go gloves, but I like the boots because I utilize that not only on this, but Lazy Inarius, which is what I like to farm stones with later on. I do have a guide for that. I'll link it below. So all around, it can be utilized throughout the season, even when you move away from Trag'oul and go into Rothma or Pestilence for Season 12. Let's go over the abilities quickly here. So I use Frailty or a Frailty. Frailty's OP. There's no other way to put it. It's things die when they get to 15% health. It's really, really good for Rift Guardians. It's really good for everything. So it's just nice to have there. Skeletal Mage life support. Now, as you are utilizing the Trag'oul's set, you're going to be using something that costs health in order to get the damage multiplier. You need the mage that costs health life support. This is a physical mage, so when you're rolling elemental damage on your amulet and your bracers, you're going to go for physical as your primary damage output. Devour, I use Voracious, right? So I numlock this thing, and this gives me the ability to not run out of essence. I do run into issues running out of essence with this build, so I do like to take Voracious, which reduces all essence cost by 2% for each corpse consumed for 5 seconds. So this thing can go way high up, and I always have enough essence to command my skeletons, as you want to use command skeletons for the Jezeth set. Blood Rush Potency. Blood Rush, it doesn't matter what you pick because you get all of the runes for free from the Trag'oul set. Command Skeleton, Freezing Grasp. I like to use Freezing Grasp here as it immobilizes things. It also procs your Charismans. And then Bone Armor, Harvest of the Anguish. This increases your movement speed by 1% per every enemy hit. This will stack up to 15 times with your Bone Armor amulet, so once again, you're moving through the rift really quickly. My passives here, Dark Reapening. This is why this works. You have to have this equipped so that you gain more essence every time something dies. You want to never be out of essence. Spreading Malediction. As you move in and you frailty things, it's going to put the curse on them, and then this will increase your damage by 1% for everything cursed. If I were playing hardcore, I would remove this and take the proc, right? So I would take Final Service instead. Fueled by Death. Consuming a corpse increases the movement speed by 3% for 5 seconds. This can stack up to 10 times. As you're always consuming corpses as things die, you pretty much always have this buff. You really, really move fast with this, as I'll demonstrate here soon. And then for all mage builds, you want Extended Servitude. Increase the duration of Skeletal Mage by, and revive minions by 25%. So one thing I want to point out before we jump into a rift here is you want to numlock your Devour Cannibalize. If you guys aren't familiar with numlocking, I can do a separate guide on that, but essentially you have your abilities mapped to your number pad. You hold down the ability and then turn the number pad off, and it will continuously cast that. So as you can see, I'm doing this, and you utilize that for all of the Rothma speed variations, whether it be support or damage. So let's jump into a rift quickly and see how this works. Remember, I said in the beginning you're very vulnerable, so we may die, but once you get rolling, you're pretty much set up and good to go. So I like to get a few mages out, command in, and then get my bone armor, and then I've got my gold, and I can kind of just start moving, right? I'm devouring things. I've got my damage, my movement speed buffs, so I can move really fast and kill things as I cruise through. You want to make sure that you have your skeletons commanded. That's how you get the damage proc from the Jezeth set. So it's very important to make sure you have a little bit of essence when you get to a new pull, so that you can command. But once you're there, I mean, once you're moving, that's all you're really worried about, because the mages don't fall off super duper fast when you have the Julian's Love. So you kind of just make sure you have enough essence to command and keep your 10 mages out, and that's all there is to it. It works very, very well. Once we get a nasty pack, I will stand in explosions as I have gold to show you why I like to use Boon of the Hoarder. Nothing's going to kill you with Boon of the Hoarder buff. As we're moving through, I'll pull this up too so you can see my toughness bonus as I'm picking up gold. It's really, really good. This map is totally not optimal for it, obviously, as there's many spots in this where I can run out of essence or gold and kind of be vulnerable. But in a large open map, like you see, look at my toughness, 44 million there for a second. As I pick up more gold, it's up to 4 trillion, I think we're at that point. Wait, no, billion. We're at billions, so it's easily going to tank pretty much any damage that's going to fall throughout the rift. So you just want to be able to make sure and maintain a little bit of gold here. As the gold falls off, like you see, I started to take damage there because things weren't dead. But I can get gold, and then I can tank explosions, right? I'm in those explosions. It's not hurting me at all. So that's one of the main reasons I like to take Boon of the Hoarder, as it's just so nice running through a rift, not worrying about whether or not you're going to die. Now that being said, you do die, right? If you run out of gold and there's a big stretch of no density, you just have to keep in your mind that, okay, I got to be careful again for a second, right? Until I start getting gold again, and then I can just stand in lasers and do whatever I want. Let's move through. Of course, there's not much density in here, but as I've seen a lot more lately, I don't know why that's been happening. It seems like the RNG to get a really nice rift seems to be a little lower. I don't know if they did that on purpose to kind of slow people down, because a lot of these builds for Season 12 are going to be standard T13 runs, right? You're not going to have a lot of builds. In the past, it was a lot more optimal to, say, for instance, run T12, right? And it's still maybe more optimal early season, but I know a lot of you guys out there want T13 guides, so that's why we're doing these Day 1 T13s. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to play. You want to maintain your movement speed buff from the greaves. You see how fast I run just running. You want to have enough ability or enough essence to command your skeletons, and just keeping your eyes. I just keep glancing every so often up at my mage count in the top left corner there. If I have 10 mages, then I don't really have to spend on anything other than commanding my skeletons. Command your skeletons and using bone armor from here and there, or here and there, to make sure that I maintain my stacks for movement speed, or for movement speed and for survivability. And everything's dead there. Let's see if we can get this RGK out. Okay, he's out. I'm going to stay here for a second so we can kill all this, kill this pack. Sometimes, as the mages, as you can see, mages are dumb. There's no smart mage, so you can't, like, force it to attack a thing. I mean, there's ways to try and make sure it attacks a thing, but sometimes it's just going to attack whatever's around. So, the Rift Guardian's dead. We've got our stones, and we can leave, right? Once you turn your numlock off, you can leave. And that's basically it. I mean, there's almost no survivability issues. We did get a shielding there at the end, but as you saw before that, we did not have a shielding, and we did eat a couple explosions. You're not going to die with running this build. I do like Gold Wrap and Boon of the Hoarder, and I stand by that for almost every class in the game. If I can fit these things into that build, it makes it that much nicer. And if I can't fit them both in, I always fit in Boon of the Hoarder. You might as well get the free gold while you can. As we wrap up, I want to do a big shout out to everybody in the Twitch and YouTube community that have been supporting the channel. Thank you guys so much. We're almost up to 17,000 followers on Twitch. We've been getting a lot of subscribers on YouTube, and I really appreciate all the feedback you guys have given me. Thank you guys for checking out this guide. If you're new to the channel and you haven't seen any of my stuff before and you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and feel free to let me know or give me input on things that you want to see. I do plan on doing more of these Day 1 T13 guides for other classes, as well as optimal speed farming builds for Season 12, as we do have a release date now. This current season will end on the 20th here, and it will begin on the 9th of November, so right after BlizzCon. So I'm really looking forward to Season 12. If you're not familiar with my stream, I do stream on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Dropadooski. My current schedule is Tuesday through Saturday from noon MST until normally 6 or 7, depending on the day, sometimes 8 p.m. It just depends. So guys, if you haven't seen the stream, come on by. We got a really good community. We've got a very active Discord community, and a lot of people right now looking for groups. If you're playing in NA and you're looking for a standard 4-man group, come on by the stream. More than likely you're going to find somebody that you can play with, guys. Once again, thank you so much, and we'll be getting another guide out to you shortly, guys. Peace out.